Hey guys, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're taking a look at this knife. This is the S718 by Sanrenmu. This was a new model for 2019, and Sanrenmu used to put the date of manufacture on their knives. This knife was manufactured in December 2018, and it's pretty nice. It's the very first in this series, the very first tan one, because Sanrenmu likes to put their serial numbers on the knives themselves, and this is model 00001. So I got the first one. I will be keeping this knife, and I've been keeping it for a while because I like it, and it's the first one. I thought I reviewed it years ago, but I never did, and so here it is, the S718. There's another knife, there's actually a few more knives from Sanrenmu, fixed blades that look very similar. This one is not very available. It's got 12C27 Sandvik stainless steel, which is a decent budget stainless steel. But they've got another model that looks very similar, the S725P, that you can still get at the same places you can get this. It's got 14C28N, and it costs a little bit more, but I think it's worth the little bit more. While 12C27 is okay, 14C28N is even better. So yeah, are you interested in this knife? I'll leave links down below for where you can buy it and in the comment section as well. Unfortunately for Canadians, perhaps eBay will work. There's a store on eBay that has these. They charge more for it, but the AliExpress stores for these are charging more for shipping than they are for the knife. And that's because most of those stores also sell folding knives, and folding knives sent in from AliExpress. If you're a Canadian and you're buying a folding knife from AliExpress, it's probably going to get stopped by CBSA. And so many Canadians before you have demanded their money back from the seller, and they didn't want to keep losing money that way because it costs them a lot of money if they're, refunding knives that they're never going to get back, and they're just going to be stuck at CBSA. So they've decided to start charging loads of shipping for this. But if you are in the United States and many other countries around the world, this thing's around 42, 43 American dollars for a good fixed blade. We'll talk about the sheath and everything. Let's get to the tabletop pronto and get started. Let's put the knife down here. Let's take a look at the sheath first. Yeah, ABS plastic. That's what it's made out of. And then we've got a leather belt loop. That's quite a big loop there. And of course, a retention snap for it. This is probably bonded leather. It's probably the real cheap stuff. But the sheath itself, it's got good retention. It's not loose, it's not shaking around, holds quite well. I don't mind. It's even got a tiny little drain hole at the bottom right there. You've got jimping over here, perfect for you to put your thumb on and push it out. I don't mind this sheath on this knife, at this price point. So let's put that to the side and let's take a look at this blade. We've got a little bit of an upswept thumb rest, and then it comes with a drop point, nice big swedge there, a pretty good point on it. Like, that's a nice point. Lots of belly, a bit of a straight section here. We've got a swept back plunge. Unfortunately, the sharpness choil is not quite as big as the plunge. It's not terrible. It's not like way off, but I wish that sharpness choil was just a tiny bit bigger. We've got your flat ricasso there, and then it's the handle. I believe these are T8 screws. We've got some more jimping on the back of the handle right there. We've got an exposed lanyard hole, but we don't have G10, so it's inset. That's a great way to do a lanyard. And we've got exposed steel at the back, so if you do need to use it to, crack something up, smash it up a little bit, you've got some exposed steel there. And a nice rounded belly, a nice finger choil up here, and on that, along the steel, it matches fairly well. It's not a perfect match, but it holds in the hand quite well. And we've got, that random milled section all over the handle, that gives it an extra grip. quite grippy in hand. So that's overall what it looks like. How well does it work? It actually cuts really well. They've made it nice and thin behind the grind. A great point on here for piercing. It's not, super stout, but it's strong enough for piercing. And, with the switch here and everything, it goes into stuff quite well. I'm quite happy with that. We've got Sanrenmu's logo from China. Don't tell me it's Japanese letters. So many people do that every once. Well, not that many, but Sanrenmu is a Chinese company. China and Japan hate each other. If you know history at all, there's no reason why a Chinese company is going to put Japanese letters on their knife when, it's not like a katana or something. Okay, that's Chinese. By the way, Japan has 3 alphabets. They use the same alphabets, the same characters as some Chinese languages do. So that's their logo. Their old logo. They're using SRM now for Sanrenmu for their Western logo. On this side, we've got the model S718-2, and then that triangle means 2018, 12 means December, so it's made in December 2018. And right here it says 12C27, and the serial number right there on the ricasso. That's all the badging on it, so nice small badging. Quite okay with that. The blade itself, it's a really good style of blade. Very functional. It slices well, it cuts well, it pierces well. I already covered that in a little bit. I'm very fond of it. During my testing, it worked wonderfully. Quite sharp from the factory, like not crazy sharp. It was actually a little bit less sharp than my average, but still, the geometry of the knife, and the thinness of the edge, it's a good performer. Let's talk about the handle for a minute, some more details of the handle. I really like, this milled handle, this 3D milled handle, except for right here on the belly, the G10 right here. It's still a little bit thick, and then we've got this flat surface there. During some extended cutting, during my testing, when I was doing hard use for a long period of time, it just got a little bit hot in the hand here, just a little bit annoying. Is it a problem? No, not really. It's just a minor annoyance, but it's an annoyance that's so easy to fix. You just sand this down, round it over a little bit, just here on the belly part. On the spine, it's fine. Just round it a bit on the belly with some sandpaper, and it would be awesome. And that would not affect how it goes into the sheath, because that's completely, holding on to the blade. So quite nice. You want to see what it looks like taken apart? All right, I'll show you. I didn't show it being taken apart because these pins are in round holes and they're free spinning. So I needed a screwdriver on either side. So I used my little vise to hold it. Oh yeah, you can see the prints from the rubber handle on the vise on there right now. That little bit of texture that's left. I'll wash that off later. So you've got, 3 holes there just to help the balance point a little bit. And, it's just a simple, straightforward knife. Well made. So if you wanted to, you could change the handles out and put something else on there. If you've got skills, you could put on, a permanent handle, pin it on, whatever you want. Doesn't really matter. The only thing you have to make sure you do is you have to match this front section right here or smaller in order to get it back in the sheath. But chances are, if you're one of those guys who's replacing a handle, you're going to make your own sheath for it as well. So problems are all gone. So very straightforward. You can tell that they did a stonewash first, because the handle here's got a stonewash treatment on it. And then they changed their minds and did a satin finish. I would have liked a stonewash finish all over. You can see the stonewash here on the spine still. You can see the stonewash on the spine of the handle. Maybe they didn't change their minds. Maybe they always wanted to do that and just leave the stonewash up here. I would have liked the whole thing in stonewash. But hey, I don't mind. It's quite nice the way it is. So I'm going to put it back together again, and then we'll go over all the sizes and dimensions. First off, the weight of the knife. It's 146 grams, 5.15 ounces. The sheath, 45 grams, 1.6 ounces. Together, 192 grams, 6.75 ounces. Not bad at all. I told you it was fairly sharp. It got a score of 175 bests on my testing, which is slightly worse than average, but it's not bad at all. That's quite good. Anything under 200 is quite good. The blade length and the cutting edge length, the tip to the G10 and tip to heel of the blade, it's exactly the same. 99.1 millimeters, 3.9 inches. So that's why they're calling this a 4-inch blade. The thickness of the blade is 3.03 millimeters, 0.119 of an inch. So just under 1/8 of an inch, just barely. The blade depth, this way, it's right here at the heel, not quite at the heel of the blade, but almost. 35.7 millimeters, 1.41 inches. How thick is it behind the grind? 0.37 millimeters, 14.5 thousandths of an inch. Yes, nice and thin, which is why it really cuts quite well. Now, the sharpness, it's okay. They did an okay sharpening of this. We'll call this an average of 20.6 degrees and 20.1 degrees on here. But, you know, on this side, it started at 18.6, 18.7. It went to 21.8 and ended at 23.3. So, yeah, that's, what, 4.7 degrees of variation along there? Not that good. This side was about 19.3 for that much of where my fingers are, and then it ended up at 22.7. A little bit better than this side, but not great. So 12C27 on this kind of knife, I'd probably make it 18 degrees per side, unless I was going to be doing, you know, hammering into some, if I was taking a critter apart, if I was dumb enough to hammer into some bone or stuff, you know, maybe I'd want it 20 degrees per side. The rest of the details here, the handle, the G10, so it's not the blade, not the handle completely, not the steel, just the G10, 114.1 millimeters, 4.49 inches. The thickest spot on the handle, and the handle does go from thin to thicker, back to thinner. The thickest spot is 16.9 millimeters, 0.665 of an inch. And the depth of the handle, its biggest is right there, 28.7 millimeters, 1.13 inches. And the grip area is about 9.5 centimeters, 3 3/4 inches. The total length, the absolute length from the end of the steel here to the end of the steel here, 215 millimeters, which is 8.46 inches, so 8.5 inches. Oh, I didn't do the balance point before. It's right about there, which isn't bad. I wouldn't mind it if the balance point was right in the middle of the index finger. That would be preferred. They'd have to have made those holes that they cut out just a little bit bigger, but it's not bad. It's a nice knife. If you really like this thing, good for you. It's a good knife. But do consider checking out the S725P. Check out my video on that. It's an older video. It's not quite up to the par that I usually am. And even right now, this video is probably not one of my best. I'm still recovering from, you know, my colitis flare-up is really messed my body up. And, you know, some of the side effects of that are all kinds of different body pains and stuff. And pain is pretty distracting. So hopefully this video comes out pretty good anyways. Thank you very much to all my Patreon supporters, my YouTube member supporters. You guys are awesome. Thank you for watching, liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And remember to check out the links down below in the comments and in the video description. Links for all kinds of stuff. And remember, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.